Zion is injured again, the Warriors got back GP2, and the Lakers look like a serious team now, and Kevin Durant is now on the Suns. Ladies and gentlemen, the NBA just gets crazier and crazier. I mean, just when we were all talking about the East finally catching up to the West, these crazy turn of events happened. Anyway, today we'll go over my predictions on how exactly the Western Conference is going to play out for the rest of this year. Just before we start this video, I just wanted to let you all know that we listened to y'all's advice and got some sheesh t-shirts. If you want to check them out and support the channel, the link's down below. And without further ado, let's do this. First things first, let's look at my before the season predictions and compare them with where we're currently at. I had Denver first, which is spot on. I had the Clippers third, they're currently fourth. I had the Suns sixth, they're currently fifth. I had the Timberwolves seventh, they're currently eighth. Let's see what else. I had the Pelicans at ninth, and they're currently half a game back from ninth. And a few of the bottom teams like the Spurs and Rockets, I got them sorted on the mark too. On the other hand, where my predictions look a little wonky are with the Kings, the Lakers, and the Warriors. But in my defense of Golden State, they're only just 5.5 games back from second, and there were like 10 games they should have won, but threw away in the fourth quarter when all the odds were with them. But hey, the season isn't over yet, and with all the changes that happened, especially at the trade deadline, here are my new predictions on the Western Conference. Starting at the top 5, the Denver Nuggets are going to maintain the number 1 seed. I mean, that's a no-brainer. They're 5 games ahead of second, and they've been playing like a championship caliber team all season, with Jokic leading the way. The Grizzlies, on the other hand, are in a funk and have gone 4-6 in their last 10 outings. They've turned themselves into the most hated team in the league, and consequently, they've created a target on their backs. Their upcoming schedule also has a ton of teams that are fighting for seeding, so it's not exactly an easy road ahead of them. I actually see them dropping to at least the 3rd seed when it's all said and done. The Sacramento Kings are going to fall a few seeds as well. They're only a game ahead of the Clippers and a game and a half ahead of the Suns. In fact, they're only 3.5 games ahead of the 9th seeded Warriors. Sheesh, guys. This is the tightest standings I've ever seen in like 20 years. I mean, we're at the All-Star break, and only 3.5 games separate the 3rd and the 9th seed. Anyway, next up are the Los Angeles Clippers and the Phoenix Suns. Both of these teams seem like they're going to catapult up the rankings soon. I mean, Kawhi's load management looks like it's finally over, and he appears to be gearing up for a deep playoff run. His partner in crime, Paul George, is doing the same thing. Then on top of that, the Clippers made some decent moves at the trade deadline. Anyway, as for the Phoenix Suns, we all know why they're going to climb up the regular season standings. It's all because of Kevin, the Slim Reaper Durant. I still can't believe he got traded to the Suns, but ever since he did, the Western Conference became the Wild Wild West again. I mean, a lineup of Booker, Ayton, and CP3 doesn't really scare anybody, especially not Luka. But adding Durant to that mix makes the whole thing a different animal. In saying that though, it might still look the same to Luka because, in basketball lingo, he is the father of Booker, Ayton, and CP3. Anyway, although the Suns got Durant, the other question we gotta ask is, who's gonna stop Luka? He's already shown that he can tear through any Suns defense, and with Irving on his team now, he won't have to carry the load for 48 minutes a night. Moving on here, after the Mavericks are the Pelicans, and with Zion getting injured yet again, that's going to be it for the Pelicans. With Zion, they're a Tier 2 team, but without him, considering how stacked the West is now, they're a play-in tournament team at best. The Timberwolves are up next, and honestly, I bet they're wishing they didn't make that Rudy Gobert trade. I mean, they gave away so much of their depth for a player who's good, but doesn't exactly move the needle. They also just gave up a 26-year-old D'Angelo Russell, who is playing some of the best basketball of his career, for a 35-year-old Mike Conley. I have absolutely no idea what the Timberwolves are doing at the moment. Honestly, I don't. Do you? Again, just like the Pelicans, I see them now as a play-in team at best when the regular season concludes. After them are the Golden State Warriors, who currently are sitting in 9th. Well, Steph should be coming back soon. Wiggins looks like he's finally back to playing like an all-star. Klay Thompson's offensive abilities look like that of a superstar again. And the Warriors brought back the tallest 6'3" guard in the world, Gary Payton II. The biggest hurdle for the Warriors at the moment is getting healthy, but it seems like over the next 2 to 3 weeks, everyone is finally going to be back, and I got a strong feeling that Golden State is about to make a run. They're only 3.5 games back from the 3rd seed, and before the regular season concludes, I see them climbing up to the 6th seed. As for teams 10, 11, and 12 currently, I don't see any of these teams making any huge splashes, and I don't mean any disrespect to stars like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lauri Markkanen, or Damian Lillard, but the ceilings for these teams is making the play-in tournament. At 13th, however, is the Los Angeles Lakers. Rob Pelinka finally made a move at the trade deadline and made the Lakers interesting. They added youth and shooting to the team, and at the moment, with about 20 games left in the season, they're only 2 games back from the 10th seed and 3 games back from the 8th seed. As crazy as you might think my take is, I actually got the Lakers reaching at least the 8th seed. And for the last 2 teams in the conference, it's obvious they're in full tank mode to acquire Victor Wembanyama. I mean, the Spurs are currently on a 14-game losing streak, and the Rockets are on a 7-game losing streak. These 2 teams are going to want to stay as low as possible in the rankings for the best odds at getting the 2023 number 1 pick. And yeah, there's not much more to discuss about the Rockets or the Spurs, at least until the draft. So, with that being said, these are my new predictions of the seeding. The Nuggets will stay at number 1. Phoenix will shoot up to number 2, while the Grizzlies drop to number 3. Number 4 will be the Clippers, while the 5th seed will be the Kings. 6th will be the Warriors, number 7 will be the Mavericks, and finally, we'll have the Lakers be number 8. Number 9 will be the Timberwolves, and honestly, it's a coin flip for number 10. I'd like to give it to the Pelicans if they get back a healthy Zion, but because they probably won't, I'm going to say Damian Lillard is going to carry his team to at least a play-in position. Now, as for the play-in tournament, again, I got the Mavericks winning the first game and coming in the 7th seed, with the Lakers coming in the 8th seed. Then finally, it's that time of the year again that we've all been waiting for, the NBA playoffs. A 1-8 matchup will put the Nuggets up against the Los Angeles Lakers. This will actually be quite the matchup because if healthy, these Lakers definitely aren't your usual 8th seed, and the Nuggets, on the other hand, are an above-average 1st seed, being led by someone who's about to become the first 3-time reigning MVP since Larry Bird back in the 80s. This is actually a really hard one. I have a feeling that the Lakers could cause a massive upset here, but if I had to put my money where my mouth is, I'm still betting on the Denver Nuggets in 6. For the 2-7 matchup, it's the Phoenix Suns versus the Dallas Mavericks. Honestly, on paper, the Suns are the overwhelming favorite because who's going to stop them? But hey, if you look closely, the Suns can't really stop Luka either. I mean, last season, even with their Defensive Player of the Year candidate, Mikal Bridges, they got torn apart by the young basketball phenom. Then on top of that, the Mavericks also now have Kyrie Irving. The obvious choice would be to pick the Phoenix Suns, but as we've seen, Luka Doncic is one of the rare players who brings his game to the next level in the playoffs. I mean, in 2 back-to-back years, he almost single-handedly took out Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Then last year, we all remember what he did to the Suns in Phoenix in a Game 7. Still though, if I had to put my money where my mouth is, I got the Suns edging out the Mavericks in 6 or 7 games, but this is definitely going to dispel the invincible aura surrounding this Phoenix squad. Anyway, next up we got a 3-6 matchup between the Grizzlies and the Warriors. If the Warriors are healthy, this isn't going to be any different than last year. The Grizzlies simply aren't ready yet, and if GP2 is going to be guarding Morant for the whole series, and if the Splash Brothers are healthy, then this isn't going to go past 5 games. Finally, we have a 4-5 matchup between the Clippers and the Kings. Truth be told, as much as I'd love to see the Clippers flop in this series, I see the Kings being swept. Sacramento did well to make the playoffs this year, and while this will be a great experience to build upon, I see their season coming to an end in the first round. Then, after that, off we go to the semis. For these matchups, we have the Nuggets going up against the Clippers and the Suns going up against the Warriors. As for the 1-4 matchup, I got the Nuggets winning this one. As good as Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are, I just think Nikola Jokic is going to be too much for anything the Clippers can throw at them. Then when you combine that with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and the renewed Aaron Gordon, I think the Nuggets are going to be too overwhelming. I see Denver winning this series in 6 games. Then next off, we got the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. This is the matchup we wanted to see last year, but sadly, Luka spoiled the party. Anyway, assuming both teams are at full health, I'm putting my money on the defending champions, the Golden State Warriors. I mean, everyone's worried about Durant, but to be honest, the Celtics already showed the world how to guard KD last year when they limited him to 39% shooting from the floor and 33% from three-point range. I know the Warriors have been horrible on defense this season, but a huge part of that has been because half the roster was new, that Wiggins was out for like half the season, and the fact that they didn't have the young glove. Before the series starts, I expect Kerr and the coaching staff to rewatch that series between the Celtics and the Nets numerous times to figure out a way to slow Durant down. Then when it comes to Booker, I'm sure Andrew Wiggins could figure that out. I am worried though about DeAndre Ayton. The one weakness of the Warriors is size, and every time these two teams face off, Ayton always has a buffet feast in the paint. Draymond is going to need to bring out that Defensive Player of the Year spirit within him if the Warriors hope to contain Ayton. Then, on the other hand of the equation, Klay Thompson has been looking like an offense dynamite as of late, and if Steph Curry is going to be playing at an MVP level, and if Jordan Poole is going to bring the pool party, then I'd say that the Suns are going to have a hard time containing the Warriors. I got Golden State winning this series in 6 games. Then finally, we have the Nuggets and the Warriors. The way I see this, because of the absurd amount of three-point shots taken by Golden State and their accuracy, the Warriors are actually the Nuggets' kryptonite. Because look, Jokic is going to be put in high pick and rolls all game. So for every Warriors possession going down the floor, it's either going to be an open 3 or a double team on Steph, which then leads to a 4-on-3 situation. The Nuggets, on the other hand, are going to try and feed Jokic for those easy paint buckets, but a combination of Draymond, Wiggins, and GP2 is going to make it as difficult as possible for the reigning MVP. There's going to be a game or two where the Warriors' shots just don't fall, but ultimately, I got the Warriors winning the Western Conference Finals in 6 or 7 games and headed to yet another Finals appearance in 2023. Then Charles Barkley needs to apologize for his ridiculous take which he said at the All-Star game.
The Golden State Warriors are cooked. The Golden State Warriors are cooked. The Golden State Warriors are cooked.
Sheesh, guys. First he says Klay Thompson is over, only for Klay to be shooting like superstar numbers on superstar efficiencies. Then now he says the Warriors are cooked? Man, some people really talk crazy when a camera and mic is on them. At this point, I think Charles Barkley deserves to be a member of the Memphis Grizzlies.